You ever look at the stock market and just feel like the game is rigged? Like you just can't win? Well, what if I told you that some of the biggest players out there might actually be using a secret playbook against you? Today, we're going to crack that book open and take a look inside.
And look, that feeling, it's not just in your head. The source material we're looking at today puts it really bluntly. The game is often rigged, and it's by design. While folks like us are watching our accounts go down, the big institutions, well, they're playing a completely different game.
And this is the big red flag you have to remember. When a trade goes south, it's so easy to just chalk it up to bad luck. But what we're digging into today is the idea that sometimes it's not luck at all. It's a deliberate, calculated move made by somebody else.
All right, so let's do it. Let's open the Manipulator's Playbook. You know, to have any chance in this game, we first have to understand what the objective looks like from their side of the field.
So at its very core, this is what we're talking about, market manipulation. It's any action that's meant to interfere with the natural buying and selling in the market, all for personal profit. It's really about creating a false reality to trick other people into making a move that benefits you.
These manipulation tactics, they really boil down to two main categories. The first is all about controlling what you hear and what you think. It's about manipulating your perception. The second is way more direct. It's about messing with the actual price and volume data you see on your screen. And here's the really scary part. Some of these methods are completely, 100% legal.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to break down 3 of the most common plays from this book. These are the core strategies that are used to separate regular investors from their hard-earned money.
First up, we've got a play called the media megaphone. This one is all about controlling the story, because if you can control the narrative, you can absolutely control the crowd.
So here's how it goes down. Step 1. A fund quietly buys up millions of shares of a stock when nobody's really looking so they don't drive up the price. Step 2. They use their massive network of news outlets, and get this, some reports suggest these funds control almost half of the daily newspapers in the US to just blast positive stories and create a ton of hype. And finally, step 3, as all of us retail investors pile in with major FOMO, the fund turns around and sells their entire position right into that buying pressure. Boom, massive profit.
And this is the genius of it, from their perspective. Your fear of missing out is their exit strategy. That first news story is like a tiny snowball rolling downhill. But once retail investors start buying, they become evangelists, right? They're telling their friends, they're posting on social media. They build that little snowball into a massive avalanche of buying. They do all the hard work for the fund, creating the very liquidity the fund needs to cash out.
Okay, so play number 1 was all about manipulating the story. This next play, the pump and fade, is about manipulating the price itself. This is a much more direct, aggressive strategy, and it's designed to create a completely false illusion of momentum.
I mean, just listen to that quote from an ex-trader. It's so brazen. They just see it as a fun, lucrative game. So with this play, a fund will pour millions into a stock to create a sudden, sharp price spike. That's the pump. This gets the attention of momentum traders, algorithms, everyone who then jumps in and amplifies the move. Then the fund immediately sells or fades its position into the very frenzy they just created.
And check this out. Here's a really modern twist on that idea. It's called wash trading. A fund can use 2 different brokers to buy and sell the exact same number of shares to itself at the same time. The result? Their net position is 0. They haven't risked any real capital. But suddenly, 1 million shares of volume pops up on the chart. It's like generating a bunch of smoke to attract a real fire.
So the big question is, how do you spot this? Okay, here's the red flag you have got to watch for. You see a huge, totally out of character spike in volume, but the price itself barely moves. It creates this tiny little candle on the chart. This signals a ton of activity, but no real conviction, no real progress. It's a classic sign of artificial volume.
And that brings us to our third and final play. And this one is maybe the most predatory of them all. It's called the stop-loss snipe. And its whole purpose is to hunt the herd where they feel safest, their stop-loss orders.
And it's this ruthlessly efficient 4-step process. First, the funds use data to figure out exactly where large clusters of retail stop-loss orders are sitting. Second, they attack. They launch a short selling campaign to push the price down right to that level. Third, the cascade begins. All those triggered stops become automatic sell orders, which just throws gasoline on the fire and crashes the price even further. And finally, the fund profits. They close out their short position at the very bottom, and then they buy back in to ride the bounce all the way up. They literally make money on the way down and on the way up.
And you can see it so clearly on this chart, right here. That's the high-density stop-loss cluster. Here's the attack, pushing the price down. This sharp drop, that's the cascade, when all those stops get triggered at once. And right here, at the bottom, that's where the fund covers its short and goes long, perfectly capturing the reversal.
Okay, so I know, that all sounds pretty bleak, but knowing the plays is the first step to not getting beat by them. So now we're going to shift from the problem to the solution. It's time to open the retail counter playbook.
Look, you are not going to stop a multi-billion-dollar fund from running these plays. It's not going to happen. But what you can do is learn to recognize them when they're happening. The key here is a fundamental mindset shift from being a follower who gets swept up in the hype to being a skeptical observer who understands the game being played on the field. So what does that actually look like day to day? Well, it starts with 3 simple rules of engagement. Number 1, do your own research. Don't ever trust someone else's conviction, build your own. Number 2, read the tape, not the hype. Pay attention to those weird volume patterns we just talked about. And finally, number 3, be wary of crowds. When everyone on the internet is screaming that a stock is a sure thing, that's often a pretty good signal that the smart money is quietly heading for the exit.
And that really brings us to the most important takeaway from this entire breakdown. In a game that can feel so rigged, your most powerful tool, your one true edge, is knowledge.
The ultimate defense against all this stuff isn't some secret trading trick or a fancy indicator. It's just a solid personal investment thesis. It's understanding why you are in a trade based on your own research. When you have that deep conviction, all the noise and all the hype from the manipulators, it just becomes irrelevant. And I really want this line to stick with you because it's the whole point. If you can't explain in simple terms your reason for owning a stock, there is a very good chance you're just following the herd. And as we've seen, the herd often ends up providing the exit for someone else.
So look, the goal here is not to be scared out of the market. Not at all. The goal is to be smarter in the market. Stay informed about these tactics, stay skeptical of the hype, and stay safe by making decisions based on your own knowledge. You see, by understanding their playbook, you're no longer just playing the game, you're watching the players. And that knowledge, that's your edge. So, we've opened their playbook. We've seen the strategies designed to work against you. But we've also started to build our own counter playbook, one that's built on knowledge and a healthy dose of skepticism. So the final question is for you. Now that you can see the plays, will you change how you watch the game?